folks. Hope you're all doing well, and welcome to episode 23 of Recommended Albums to Review. All right, so for this week, we got a band I never heard of, so an album I never heard of, and this record kind of blew me away a little bit. This was like a cornucopia of instruments and music and sound. It was just like mind-blowing. So anyway, the record I'm talking about, well, let's talk about the band first. The band is called Karmic Juggernaut, okay? And the record is called Phantasm Gloria. Yes, Phantasm Gloria released 2023 last year. Okay, so the guys in the band currently are Kevin Grossman, drums, Jake Hughes on keyboards, James McCaffrey, guitars and vocals, Cody McCory, bass, theremin, and saw. We've got Randy Preston, guitar and vocals, and Damon Santamaria, vocals and flute. And there's some past members: Andrew Black, Brian Geardy, Marcus Mariaco, and Zach Westfall, and they were all bass players. So, what a record, man. This is like so much going on. These guys put out a sound that's just, there's so many layers to it, so many parts going on at the same time. That being said, though, you can really hear everything in the interplay going on between the musicians and the band. The songs are very complex. I mean, you know, I'm listening to this and I'm hearing definitely some prog elements. There's a lot of fusion going on as well. I'm hearing, some heavy rock guitar at the same time. There's one song that's got an R&B flavor to it. These guys are just absolutely incredible master musicians, and their compositions are showcasing their musical ability and chops, okay? But not at the expense of great riffs, great melodies, and hooks. But man, it's a really dense sound with a lot of stuff going on. It would be like, musically, it'd be like you pulling up to a 25-course meal and having it all at once. It's so dense, and there's so much going on to sort of pull your ear in one direction or another. Super entertaining. I mean, if you're a fan of, like music, basically, like not music where, it's got a good beat and I can dance to it. Like, if you really like music and you like some really complex arrangements and like to listen to, guys playing at the top of their level, like, this is it. I mean, there's even some Zappa-esque moments in this. Like, it's overwhelming, honestly. Like, when I first put it on, and I listened to the first two cuts, it's literally overwhelming. It's like you're being bombarded by all these sounds, all this musicianship, all this intricate playing and interweaving parts and melodies. It's quite the adventure. I don't know how else to kind of summarize it, but that's really what it is. So anyways, so let's go through the tracks. So this is kind of a concept record, at least I'm not a lyric guy, so I'm just kind of more listening to the melody lines and things going on. But it does start off with something called the WKRM announcement, and it's basically, they're announcing basically the end of the world, right? The world is ending and you want to get off the planet, or if you're going to stay on the planet, these guys have a sense of humor, send us some, what was it, wine and cigarettes or something if you decide to stay, that kind of thing. So it's pretty humorous in that regard. But the intro of it is basically that, a radio broadcast kind of, putting in context of what's coming, the end of the world, and then the songs are going to follow along that theme. So the first track is called Flat Earthlings. And man, there's a lot of stuff going on. I can't even summarize it because Like that one song would be most bands' first three albums. I mean, it's just so much going on, but it's all, you know, super musical. I mean, the chops are amazing. Like as a guitar player, like the two guitar players in this band are unbelievable. Like the chops are amazing. All the parts are great. There's just so many twists and turns to it. But at the end of the day, like it holds your interest, and it's very very musical. So in that first track, it's just a 4 minute track, and then it's followed by Sun Puzzle, which is an 8 minute, nope, sorry, 6 minute track, which is kind of more the same, maybe slightly toned down, but again, just some really great melodies and parts going on. I mean, it's the first two songs are just so entertaining. They're just so entertaining. You gotta just you really gotta sit back and kind of just take it all in because it is a lot to take in. But the way this is produced, it's not like there's a lot of clutter. Even though there's a lot of parts and things going on, there's really no clutter. Like you can clearly hear everything going on, and so much so that it's kind of thing like every time you listen to it, you're going to hear something new because the first time you listen to it, you might latch on to this bit, and the next time you listen to it, you might latch on to that bit. Like instrumentation wise, you might focus on the bass. I mean, the bass is I mean, the parts the guy's playing are fantastic. The drums, like you latch on to different parts, right? So it's almost like every time you listen to it, you're going to discover something new. But man, those first two tracks, like that's just a really great 1-2 punch. All right, the third track is called. Well, it's I think you pronounce it Seiko. It's Psaiko Seiko. That's just strictly percussion. Okay, so it's almost like we've just kind of blown you out of your blown you off your feet for the first two tracks. Let's just do a percussion thing. Really strip it down. I mean, it's all percussion, but it's pretty interesting, and it's sort of almost a lead up to the next track, Drum Machine, because or sorry, not Drum Machine. The next track is Dream Machine, where they there's a rhythmic thing that they establish in that percussion track, Seiko, that bleeds into the next track. Right, Dream Machine, man, it's just a super proggy. Just really, really cool. I haven't mentioned the keyboard. The keyboards on this record are fantastic. The sounds the guy's pulling in and the parts he's playing, really augment, and a lot of times it'll actually take the lead part on some of the tracks. And yeah, that's just a really good progressive track at 7 minutes and change. All right, then you've got Adamus Camera Obscure. And now they introduce a whole different flavor. It's proggy, but imagine R&B sprinkled in with the prog. So it's kind of an R&B tune, but with some crazy guitar playing and some extended licks in there, whatever. But another fantastic song. I should mention too, all the bands that I mentioned earlier, the things that I hear in this. I hear a lot of Yes in this too. A lot well, there's one song in particular that is very Yes like, but the singer's voice, a lot of times, man, he sounds a lot, to me anyway, he sounds a lot like John Anderson from Yes. But yeah, that track, now they've adding a whole different sort of R&B splice to their prog formula. All right, then they introduce another kind of break in the proceedings with Succumb to the Static, which is just sort of static and some keyboard effects and so on. It sort of almost gives you time to breathe before the next track. All right, the next track is a title cut, Phantasm Gloria, which is just, again, it's another. I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, the playing, the riffs, the melodies, the intermingling of instruments, the intertwining lines. It's just, I mean, it's hard to describe. There's just so much going on this record that you got to listen to it, and not just one time. You got to listen to it a few times. I mean, just in order for it all to sink in. Like I said, it's like you're sitting at a table and you get a 25 course meal in front of you. Like, where do you start? It's just one of those types of, excuse me, one of those types of records. And it ends with WKRM credits. And they, and this is kind of cool. They actually have like sort of a radio broadcast. They have an announcer, and he gives credit to everybody that's on the record, all the musicians on the record. There's also some trumpet on here, some trombone by some other, I don't know if they're permanent members of the band or they're just in here for this. And he mentions who mixes the record, where they recorded the record, and so on and so forth. I should mention there's even some flute in this, played by the singer Damon Santa Maria, I think was his name. But you know, I would rate this record. I mean, if I was to rate it out of 5, I would give it a strong 4. Like I said, if you're a fan of some really good progressive slash fusion music, complicated music, but not so complicated where it's not musical. These guys walk that line beautifully. I mean, they're playing really complicated music, but it's always very, it's interesting and entertaining, and there's a lot of, to latch onto, and where you can go back and listen to the record and again discover something new. It's just one of those records. I mean, I can't really even put it into words. It's just a lot going on, but it's a lot of cool stuff going on. And the musicianship is just like at the umpteenth degree. Just amazing, amazing playing on this. So, anyways, I hope you enjoyed that. So check them out. The band is called Karmic Juggernaut, and this record is called Phantasm Gloria, which came out in 2023. So go check these guys out. Fantastic. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. That would be much appreciated. We got way more people that watch this that don't subscribe. Doesn't cost you a dime. Much appreciated if you subscribed. Hit the like button, and we'll catch you next week. Oh, I forgot to mention how the show works. I was so excited about this band, I totally forgot my whole spiel. So, recommend an album to review. I reviewed a record in the comments. If there's an album you'd like me to look at for next week, put that in the comments. And criteria has to be an album I haven't already covered, and just a one record, not like 3 albums or whatever, just a single disc that I can digest in a week. So that's basically the criteria. All right, thanks again for everybody for watching, and we'll catch you next week. Cheers.